So you put your house on the market, you get an offer, you accept it. When do you get your money? This is a fantastic question that I get quite often. Well, the first deposit that the buyer will make is an earnest money. So when the buyer deposits the earnest money into escrow, it will sit there and it'll become part of the transaction. So I'm going to tell you a story about a house that I just sold. We put the home on the market for $1.4 million. We listed the home on a Thursday. We had an offer review for the following Tuesday, the upcoming Tuesday. Now, after being on the market 24 hours, we had about 5 showings on the property. We received one offer within the first 24 hours. That offer escalated at $150,000 over the asking price. Now, what's really important in this situation is when you have an offer to take prior to the offer review. Typically, it's better to do full exposure and have a dozen people to sometimes 30, 40 people come through your home and look at multiple offers. Now, knowing the maximum value of the house is really crucial because there's going to be a point done right that the home is going to sell for more than what it's worth, and the home is not going to appraise for the amount that the buyer wants that they're pledging. So the offer you're looking at, you want to make sure that the buyer not only has the pledged amount of deposit they're putting down, if they're putting down 5, 10, 20, 30% down, but above that, they're going to need additional funds to pay the shortage of the appraisal amount and their offer amount. And you need the buyer to contractually make sure that you're protected and the buyer agrees to pay the difference between the appraisal amount and the offer amount. If you don't do that, then you can renegotiate and the buyer may be getting the house for cheaper than what they're willing to pay for it. So if you're going to take an offer before the offer review date, how solid is the offer, right? The last thing that you want to do is go back on the market, right? And now you're chasing your tail and calling back brokers, and you're not going to have that initial push of 40, 50 people coming through the home. Yes, you're going to get the onesie, twosie, but when the house first goes on the market, you get the most activity. So you look at all those buyers and you're sifting and you're figuring out who really wants this property. And the buyer will tell you if they're the right one, contractually, the way they write the offer. Now, the least contingencies that you have, the better chance you have of keeping a contract together. And if you're going to take an offer prior to the offer review date, preferably you want to have no contingencies. What do I mean by that? Meaning the buyer waives the home inspection. They waive their financing contingency. Even though they're getting financing, they believe in their financing so much that they're willing to waive the contingency that they cannot back out. So in this scenario, if they backed out, they would lose their earnest money. Now, there's a title contingency, which they can review title and they can remove that contingency as well. Another way to motivate a seller to take your offer is the 100 or 150,000, whatever amount of earnest money that a buyer pledges. You make that releasable, non-refundable. Now, I'm not giving advice here. I'm just telling you a story of this property that I'm listing and take it for what it is. Now, this buyer said, I want this house so much, I'm willing to waive every contingency. I'm reading Form 17, waive it. I look at the pre-inspection, waive it. Financing contingency, don't need one, waive it. Earnest money, here's $100,000. Not only am I going to give you $100,000, I'm going to release that $100,000 after it goes into escrow. So this way, if the buyer backs out, the seller receives that $100,000 and it's non-refundable. So if you put it back on the market and you receive $50,000 less or $100,000 less, you're still made whole. So in this scenario, we accepted the offer on Friday, and come Monday, I get a call from the real estate broker saying that the buyer does not want to move forward with the contract. And, they give me their sad story and I listen to make sure that I understand the full scenario, make sure everybody feels heard. And my response was, well, send the rescission. And I'm sorry, it's unfortunate to have to lose out on a $100,000 earnest money. And the real estate broker goes, wait a second, can't we negotiate? Can we give you like $5,000 of the earnest money and then you guys keep the rest? I'm like, no, you are contractually obligated, right? They made the pledge of that $100,000 earnest money. And so contractually, there is no outs. And they did not have a contractual out on there. So the real estate broker said, well, what if we don't deposit the earnest money. And I said, I can't give you advice, but I am extremely confident that my seller will receive that earnest money, whether you deposit it now or if it's going to be in the future. I've been doing this for 20 years and there's a process. And at this point in time, I'm sorry, but I'm not. You're contractually obligated. I took the house off the market. We trusted, your offer that your buyer was the right one. You wanted to move forward. So, if this is not the right house for you, do what you need to do to send me the paperwork, and I will present it to my client. She says, well, haven't you spoken to your clients? Yeah, I did when I presented them the offer, and I explained to them, if they sign this offer, the $100,000 earnest money is there if you guys do not perform. And in this scenario, if you contractually send me something different, yes, I'll have the conversation with them. But right at this point in time, I'm not going to entertain, the drama with them. Let you tell me if you don't want your house, our house. What do you mean? I said, well, you contractually own the house. We are obligated to sell it to you. It's yours. So you tell me what it is that you and your clients decide to do, and I will work with you. Sure enough, 25 days later, we closed the house, and everybody's happy, I hope. It's a beautiful home, but the circumstances, around them, they were emotional circumstances, and there was not anything that I needed to do to entertain that other than protect my seller's best interest. And in this scenario, it turned out to be a win-win at the end. But sometimes in real estate, it's not about always being the nice guy. What do they say? Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. And I did have to protect the transaction for my client and reassure that they did receive the $100,000 earnest money and that the property did close. And all in all, it turned out to be a success. But in real estate, you have to defend your listing. You have to protect and represent your client to the fullest and not get involved in the emotional side of it. And yes, it's unfortunate if someone makes an offer on a house and maybe it was just emotionally charged and they, the emotions were off at the end, they wanted to back out. That's not my problem. We do the best we can. 99% of the time, you're selling a house to somebody that is so happy and so grateful, that really wants it, and that they don't have buyer remorse. But if that situation comes up, you really have to look at the facts and do the best you can. But remember your fiduciary responsibility to your client. With that said, I'm Matt Steele, Steele Realty Group. If you're thinking of selling your house, let me help you get top dollar. Till the next video, catch you later.